Welcome to Final Moments, where we honor the legacies of those who have left us. Today, we remember some extraordinary individuals, artists, actors, musicians, and visionaries who shaped our world in ways that will never be forgotten. From the elegance of Geneviève Page to the comedic brilliance of Julian Holloway, the artistic genius of Mel Bochner to the cinematic mastery of Carlos Diegues, each left behind a lasting imprint. If you want to keep up with the stories of lives well lived and legacies that endure, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Final Moments. Your support helps us continue to remember and celebrate those who shaped our world. Now let's take a moment to reflect on their final chapter. Number 1. Geneviève Page. Geneviève was elegance personified. A woman of grace, intelligence, and undeniable presence. Geneviève Page, an actress whose talent spanned continents, languages, and decades. Today, we remember the luminous star of El Cid, Belle de Jour, and the private life of Sherlock Holmes, but more than that, we honor the woman who truly belonged to the stage. Born Geneviève Page in Paris on December 13, 1927, she grew up surrounded by beauty and culture. Her father, a renowned art collector, and her godfather, a young Christian Dior, filled her world with art, literature, and fashion. From a young age, Genevieve's imagination knew no bounds. She devoured books, performed in school plays, and by her teenage years was already gracing the stage with a presence well beyond her years. Cinema welcomed her in the early 1950s, and with it came international recognition. She starred opposite screen legends Robert Mitchum, Charlton Heston, Sophia Loren, Catherine Deneuve, bringing an air of mystery and sophistication to every role she played. Yet despite the glamour of Hollywood and European cinema, she often found the film to be a coitus interruptus, a process cut short before true artistic fulfillment could be reached. But when the curtain rose in the theater, that was where she truly felt at home. From Euripides to Shakespeare, from Ibsen to Fassbinder, she embodied complex, powerful women, earning the admiration of critics and audiences alike. She once described joining the Théâtre National Populaire as the biggest medal possible, not for her career, but for her soul. It was there that she flourished, pushing artistic boundaries with an unyielding commitment to her craft. On February 14, 2025, at the age of 97, Geneviève Page took her final bow. She leaves behind a legacy not just of films and theater, but of a life well lived, full of passion and purpose. Number 2. Julian Holloway. We truly lost a remarkable talent on February 16, 2025. Julian Holloway, an actor whose presence graced screens big and small, has left behind a legacy that will endure for generations. But more than just a familiar face, he was a man whose dedication to his craft, sharp wit, and unmistakable charm touched the hearts of many. Julian Robert Stanley Holloway was born on June 24, 1944 in Watlington, Oxfordshire, England, into a family steeped in the arts. His father, the legendary Stanley Holloway, was a beloved comedic actor and singer, and his mother, Violet Lane, was an actress and chorus dancer. It seemed only natural that Julian would follow a similar path, yet he carved out a career uniquely his own. Many will remember Julian for his unforgettable roles in the classic Carry On film series. From the long-suffering Major Shorthouse in Carry On Up the Khyber to the bumbling Jim Tanner in Carry On Camping, his performances were filled with warmth and humor that made them so beloved. Though he later distanced himself from these films, there's no denying the joy they brought to audiences worldwide. His career was far from limited to comedy, though. Julian showcased his incredible range in dramas like The Sweeney, Minder, and even the iconic Doctor Who. He had an undeniable gift for bringing characters to life, whether as a hero, villain, or comic relief. But Julian's influence wasn't just seen, it was heard. His voice became legendary in animation and video games, from Where's Waldo to Star Wars The Clone Wars, and even playing Death in a regular show. Julian's vocal talent made him a favorite in the world of voice acting. His voice could be commanding, humorous, and even menacing, making him one of the most versatile vocal performers of his time. Beyond the screen, Julian was a devoted father to Sophie Dahl, the acclaimed author and former model. His love for his family was evident in every step of his life. He was more than just an actor. He was a father, a friend, and an inspiration to many. His passing is a great loss, but his work ensures he will never be forgotten. Whether you laughed with him, admired his dramatic performances, or recognized his voice in your favorite animated series, Julian Holloway's presence in entertainment was undeniable. Number 3. John Blakemore. John Blakemore saw the world not just through a lens, but through a profound sense of wonder. His images, rich with texture and depth, invite us into a quiet, contemplative space where time slows down and every detail matters. Born in Coventry in 1936, Blakemore's journey into photography was anything but ordinary. He found his passion while serving as a medical orderly in Tripoli during his national service. A Kodak Retina 2C camera in hand, he began capturing the world around him, a practice that would define his life's work. His early years were spent documenting the people and places of post-war Britain, influenced by the powerful storytelling of Edward Steichen's The Family of Man exhibition. He believed that photography had the power to change society, to reveal truths, and to inspire empathy. But it was in the landscapes of Scotland, Wales, and Derbyshire where Blakemore truly found his artistic voice. Using a large format 4x5 camera, he mastered the interplay of light and shadow, often employing multiple exposures to capture the rhythm of nature itself. His images don't merely document, they breathe, they move, they speak. Later in life, his attention turned inward to the delicate details of flowers, especially tulips. In his home studio, he explored their fragility, their transient nature, and their endless complexity. Each petal, each curve, was a meditation on life itself. Beyond his own work, Blakemore's greatest legacy may be his teaching. As a professor at the University of Derby, he guided generations of photographers, sharing his technical expertise and experience. Honored with the Fox Talbot Award and an honorary fellowship from the Royal Photographic Society, Blakemore's contributions to photography were widely recognized. His work remains a cornerstone of British photographic history, archived at the Library of Birmingham and beyond. We lost a visionary, but through his images, his books, and the countless students that he mentored, his spirit lives on. John Blakemore didn't just take photographs, he taught us how to see. Number 4. Bill Fay. We lost a quiet legend. Bill Fay, the cult British singer-songwriter who touched hearts with his deeply introspective and spiritual music, has passed away at the age of 81. Born on September 9, 1943, Bill was not a man of spectacle. He never sought the spotlight, and nor did he chase fame. He simply wrote songs filled with humanity, hope, and a profound sense of searching. And those songs over time found the people who needed them most. His journey wasn't an easy one though. In the early 1970s, Bill Fay released 2 albums, Bill Fay and Time of the Last Persecution. They didn't sell well, and just like that, he was dropped by his label. Bill later said, "I didn't leave the music business left me." And so, he lived a different life, working as a groundskeeper, a fishmonger, a fruit picker. He quietly kept writing, even when it seemed no one was listening. But music has a way of finding its way back. Thanks to a small reissue in the late 90s, Bill's songs resurfaced, capturing the ears of musicians like Jim O'Rourke and Jeff Tweedy. The world that once overlooked him suddenly couldn't stop listening. He was no longer alone in the corner of the room. With help from producer Joshua Henry, Bill Fay returned to the studio. At the age of 69, he released Life is People, his first new music in 40 years. More albums followed, each a testament to his gentle wisdom and unwavering faith in the power of song. Bill was a private person, but his songs were an open window into his soul. He wrote about love, loss, faith, and the deep beauty of simply being alive. Even as he battled Parkinson's in his final years, he was still working on new music, and now the world hopes to hear what he left behind. Number 5. Carlos Diegues. Carlos Diegues, known affectionately as Cacá Diegues, was a filmmaker who transformed Brazilian cinema. Born on May 19, 1940 in Maceió, Alagoas, he became a leading force in the Cinema Novo movement, a wave of filmmakers who rejected Hollywood's glossy influence in favor of raw, powerful storytelling. He passed away on February 14, 2025, but his legacy will continue to shape the world of film for generations to come. Cinema Novo was more than a film movement, it was a revolution. With influences from Italian neorealism and Latin American magical realism, Diegues and his peers sought to tell stories that represented the real Brazil, its struggles, its inequalities, and its people. He was one of the first filmmakers to bring Afro-Brazilian stories and protagonists to the forefront, challenging a film industry that had long ignored the voices of the marginalized. His early film Ganga Zumba, 1963, depicted the life of an enslaved leader in colonial Brazil, making a bold statement about the country's racial history. Bye Bye Brazil, 1979, his international breakthrough, explored the changing face of Brazil through the eyes of street performers traveling across the country, blending social critique with poetic imagery. His later works, like Orfeo 1999 and Quilombo 1984, continued his commitment to telling the stories of Brazil's black communities, its working-class heroes, and those left out of mainstream history. His work wasn't without its challenges. During Brazil's military dictatorship, censorship forced him to tread carefully, but he continued to create films that subtly critique the injustices of the time. Even when Cinema Novo faded, Diegues adapted, continuing to make films that resonated with audiences both in Brazil and internationally. In 2018, Diegues was elected to the Brazilian Academy of Letters, a testament to his impact not just on film, but on Brazilian culture as a whole. His films weren't just entertainment, they were historical records, social critiques, and deeply personal expressions of love for his country and its people. His passing is a great loss, but his vision lives on. Every filmmaker who tells the story of the overlooked and every artist who dares to challenge the status quo carries a piece of Diegues' spirit. Number 6. Mel Bochner. Mel Bochner, a visionary, a trailblazer, and one of the founding voices of conceptual art. His work challenged how we see, how we think, and how we define art itself. Today, we honor his life, his legacy, and the profound impact he has left on the world. Born in Pittsburgh in 1940, Mel was immersed in art from an early age. His father was a sign painter, shaping young Mel's fascination with words and visual language. He studied at Carnegie Mellon, refining his craft before embarking on a journey that would redefine contemporary art. In 1966, Bochner orchestrated one of the first conceptual art exhibitions, a radical statement that questioned the very essence of art. He took working sketches, receipts, and Xerox documents, presenting them as art. This wasn't about aesthetics, it was about ideas, perception, and meaning. His work evolved, but one thing remained constant: his love of language. Bochner played with words, their meanings, and the emotions they evoked. His later paintings, featuring bold colors and provocative phrases like blah blah blah, weren't just about words, but about how they shaped our world. His influence can be seen in the halls of MoMA, the National Gallery, the Met, and countless other institutions. His work spoke to the intellectual and the everyday observer alike, bridging the gap between the abstract and the accessible. Mel Bochner passed away on February 12, 2025 at the age of 84. His passing is a great loss, but his legacy will endure. His art, his ideas, and his relentless curiosity will continue to inspire future generations.